This is volume.
You don't
Your
even have to
neighborhood.
leave. You don't even have to leave the space where you're in. Like, what do you think about Nigeria? Oh, it's a stupid country. Do you understand? Like, everybody would give you that. But we have to love our country because we don't have anywhere like this. It's not, see, that's what I'm telling you. Government cannot achieve everything. No. Nigeria is, do you know how many people are in Nigeria?
Well, last count is 220
Do you
million.
understand? 220 million diverse people to try put our hands together and make sure that we hold the government accountable. And when they say they're doing something, let's march there and seek the support. Because of the intent of our politicians, that's the only scare of creating a bill that regulates social media. But everything, like the Bible regulates Christians, Quran regulates Muslims, your wife regulates you at home.
Sometimes.
Do you understand?
This is Volume with Femi Live. I'm glad you joined into the show. Quite a number of advocates, critics, and a lot of, I say, words are being used on social media platforms across the world to describe the performance of their various governments. But a lot of people active on this platform are young people. But the big question is, are they making a difference? And is the government listening in to value their impact and contribution to what would be the right and ideal way to run the government? My guest today is Gidado Shuaib. Is the publisher of News Digest and is also the founder of Campus Journalism Awards. And yes, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's been in this space for a while and is quite young, and I'm excited to have a conversation with him this very lovely day. Welcome to Volume.
Thank you so much, Mr. Femi. It's good to be on your platform and great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Let's start off with, pretty much what social media was all about. It was about social connectivity. That was the design for a lot of the entrepreneurs that put it out there. But soon it became a tool. And the way different countries adopted social media has really turned out differently. But let's focus on how Nigeria adopted social media. You barely can look through any conversation that is not politics or sports today that is not based, that is a young person pushing it for views, opinions, and telling you, you must listen to me. Why is it so? Why is it that people have the compelling need to say, you must listen and accept my views when it comes to social media platforms?
Thank you so much to Volume, and it's good to be here, Mr. Femi and the whole team. I must really commend your efforts, and this is also a product of social media, I can tell.
Yes, certainly.
So the world is, the social media has become the new world order. I like to address it as the new media because anything digital now, everybody's finding themselves in it. Yes, we could say a lot of people rely on social media for sports, entertainment, and for politics, which is not bad. But again, there's a lot of people, there's a growing interest for businesses on social media. You can imagine everybody now is a car seller. You find young people going into real estate. That's because they could create beautiful content and they're able to share it on their platforms. So I think it's very important that we understand that social media is not just a platform where it has its consequences. People have their negativity in it. Do you understand? We also find it's just like in everything in the world, there's always the right and the good. It's just how you use it. What we always clamor and tell young people on social media is, one, for politics, make sure you use it for right politicking. Do you understand? Make sure your message is clear and make sure you engage in constructive criticisms. Don't just come and wake up and say the president is stupid. You have to explain a policy of government and how you think it should be done better. I think that's how our voices could be heard on this platform. And again, when it comes to sports, I think a lot of people are showcasing their skills on that platform. A lot of entertainers are growing. You see the rise of people like Pella. From where? Do you understand? Like a lot of entertainers. You see them coming, and a lot of people are growing on this platform. It's providing an opportunity for young people. Not everybody has to be roaming the streets with their CVs anymore. You can imagine without social media how many people will be walking about the streets of Abuja. So everybody has now an identity, and they can always use the platform to promote what they do. Everybody has a skill. All we need to do is create more platforms for where young people are going to have mentors. Like, we should encourage more people to be mentors because you see, as much as social media is universal for everybody, including adults and young, but you find that the young people are more adaptable to it. They know they are more easy for them to navigate the social media platforms, unlike unlike the older people. So we
Yeah.
need to have mentors who are going to teach people the ethics of life.
Why would we need mentors? And I'm saying this as just thinking what a young person would say. Oh, you guys, you've always complained. There was the era of the 70s where fellas sang it in all songs, in albums that were over 100 albums. It sang about everything that was not right in terms of how policy of government, but pretty much little or no impact. The 80s came along and there were protests, there were all kinds of civil unrest that marked the 80s along the lines of democracy. Then social media came on in 2000. Everybody felt, oh yeah, we have it covered now. We can see what everybody is writing. And I think about that trend and I think about the last 50 years. And sometimes, no matter what you say, it looks like it doesn't move the government to react or to do certain things in certain ways. So why should young people need mentors, if I would say so, in order to modify or to culture how they write?
So when you go to school every day, you pick up a teacher that inspires you. Do you understand?
Yes.
You find out, you figure yourself wanting to talk like that teacher. You sometimes want to feel like you're working like that teacher. So a lot of things that people need a lot of mentorship. Do you understand? I think mentorship is the bedrock because when you go to school, they teach you education. They don't teach you skills. They don't teach you how to make money off the profession. I studied mass communication. Do you understand? And I'm lucky to have mentors who are able to navigate like a lot of people. My dad, the Malan Jibril Baba and Dachi Diji Von, Chifemi Adeshino, and they're like a lot of them have come to be my mentors because they'll always tell you how to catch the fish. They'll teach you how to use your skill to survive. They won't because when you go to school, they teach you what is practical. They teach you what is journalism.
True.
They won't tell you that this is how to write an opinion that will get into a platform, and this is how for you to. Do you understand? They teach you the rudiment of the streets. So you need mentors who can navigate people. If not, if you find yourself without mentors, people who have grown older have seen it all to some extent.
But to an extent as well, there are young people believe that the quote people who are supposed to be our mentors have also failed in their own attempt at sometimes impacting democracy. You mentioned quite a number of names, and I would not mention any other name to follow through. But it appears that young people perceive a good number of people that one will have said on mentorship as failed mentors, people who have a voice, who can calibrate a speech, but then cannot make the same impact. I was reading a tweet yesterday, and the young man said, Baba Sheyi they see, literally insinuating that, oh, I hope you can see what other presidents are doing. He was referring to, I think it was the Malian president or thereabout. He was referring to one of the African presidents who had his own way in terms of what he was doing. And he was insinuating, he said, Baba Sheyi can see. So question about field mentorship. What would you teach me when you, during your own period of being young, you really didn't excel in making an impact?
So that's why I would continue to say there are two levels of things in life. There's always the failed and the perfect. Once you find the failed, then you can't pick them as your mentors. Human beings are not perfect. Do you understand? But all you need to do is for you to understand that there are two systemic people existing. So you have to pick the right one that fits for you. Do you understand? Someone who wants to grow and become a comrade would appreciate someone who is more rugged in the advocacy space or in the civil society organization. Like when it comes to activities in civil society, Comrade Rafsanjani is my mentor. Do you understand? But someone who is in politics or somebody who wants to maintain a Erufai type of politics or who wants to maintain a different level of politics will see that as a wrong person. So I think it depends on, everything has to incline to what you want. Then you find people along that line that fit into what you want to do. What I just think, as in most things now, is that now that young people have a voice through the social media platforms, we need to understand the world. We need to be able to implement right decisions. We need to be able to call government to account. Do you understand? Constructively, as I insist. Do you understand? Because it's not possible for them to do it alone. Government is a big space.
But most government officials and government systems often portray the fact that we want to do. You voted for us. Allow us to do the job. Don't criticize. I
think that's going to be actually highly failed in a democracy, because democracy is not about. It's about popular votes. Do you understand? Yes, we have voted for you to go there, but there's a level of representation. Don't forget, Nigeria has about so many cadres of government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. We also have the local government, we have the state, and we have the federal government. All this is just for people to be found in the system. This is all to make an approach of government flow, so that from the rock bottom, we could go gradually up onto the president. So that is how the formation of government has always existed.
There is a bill building up from 2023, the data protection bill. Cleverly, I would say, it's gaining traction because initially talk about looking into social media and the likes of that. Now it's making its way into becoming part of that. Senator Ned Nwoko, who's been at the forefront of this bill since November 2024, he himself feels, he felt victimized by some people who came after him on social media. And then, of course, they started talking about how bloggers should register, how everybody should have a fiscal address, how the data of employees should be properly documented and the likes of that. He had all of that going. Some would say that even that attempt at curbing the free flow, or is systemizing social media in itself, one way or the other, systemizing new media in itself is a way of defeating it or going after it completely to defeat it. What do you make of it?
So I'm telling you, so one thing we need to do is we need to understand that everything in life regulates us. And I like to use this argument that we also have to be very socially responsible in carrying out our social media, in carrying out our activities on social media. Do you understand? You want to avoid being blackmailed. You want to avoid intimidating somebody. A lot of people have committed suicide due to certain actions of certain people on these platforms. So as much as we try to express that people should have a freedom of speech and freedom of expression, but we should also be cautious of the next person. You don't know what the next person is doing or the next person is going through. You don't want to trigger an action where he's finding himself killing himself. So we have to be very cautious. When I go, I say, as much as I know, because of the intent of our politicians, that's the only scare of creating a bill that regulates social media. But everything, like the Bible regulates Christians, Quran regulates Muslims, your wife regulates you at home.
Sometimes.
Do you understand? Do you understand? So you find yourself being checked. So we should not think that, social media, because it's an open space, no gatekeeping, no editors, then we should just go and insult the next person. We should also be very cautious in carrying out our activities. I'm not for or against. What I'm just trying to say is that humans, we have to be socially responsible as we carry out our activities on the platform of social media.
So you are for regulation of social media?
I said I'm not for or against.
You're not for or against.
Oh, against. Yes.
Which brings me to one of the mentors you mentioned, or some of the style of politician. One of the politicians you mentioned. You mentioned former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasri El-Rufai.
Yes.
He is quite all at it on social media, and of course, his family, one of his sons, who's also a lawmaker, doesn't hesitate to give it back to you when you do cross the line. And there are quite a number of people who would not hesitate to use the language of their choice in order to maximum damage or impact, if I would say, in every sense of it. And I think about these people who, one way or the other, have the public connection, exposure, and the likes of that. It makes it a full-blown drag and be dragged system building up.
So I think what Bello does on social media is if you give him bars, he give you bows. Do you understand?
Certainly.
Do you understand? So the scores is settled on that platform. All scores settled. Do you understand? Like, I would say as a lawmaker, there's some certain level, but he's a young man as well. Do you understand? So we have to understand that as well. And that's the same with his dad. If you hit him, he hits you back. But not everybody can do that. Do you understand? Not everybody has that courage of wanting to attack you back as much as they attack them. So we just have to, what I always want to say is, let's be cautious of what we carry out on social media. And let's make sure that we're considerate of other people's thoughts, actions, and what they're going through.
It appears when you're conflicted or you provide a measure of conflict or you're controversial, or let's just combine it. You're conflicted, you provide conflict and you're controversial, your popularity scores really do go up. There were people, I would say 5 years ago, that really were in the prime of it. People like Anu or Tino, I'm trying to remember her name, her exact name, but eventually she left the country. Or do you remember
the feminist coalition?
Yes.
Yes.
There were quite a number of them, especially during the NSAS protests and the likes of that. And you also had artists who were social critics, music artists who were critics and had one or two things to say about NSAS and do it this way, do it that way. And now we're having a new collection of people who are possibly rising into the realms of those affairs. People like VDM, as he's known, who at this stage and during this conversation, we can say is having his own time to clear up his name with the EFCC. Who knows what that's about? But I think about the level of attention these people get and also the level of misleading they could also carry out if things are not carefully checked. So when you do say you're not in for it or not for it, to regulate or not regulate, where does that leave such a
First
system?
thing first, that's what I say. I say, due to the intent of some of our politicians, you won't say you support the bill because they'll end up using it in the ways they want. It's just like state policy. When we say, oh, we want state policing, a lot of people will say, oh, you can't give so much powers to the governors. They understand. And a lot of people say, oh, with the security situation that's happening in the country, we need state policing. So that's what I'm saying. So on the other hand, once we see issues like this, and a lot of people, when you find them, when you give them so much power, then they overuse it, they overstep it. So you have to be very cautious and you have to be very systematic. I think one of the things that we need to do is, I like the effort of the National Orientation Agency. Under one of my very good mentors as well, Alhaji Larissa Onilu, growing inspiration and telling young people about the Nigerian charter. Do you understand? Like what your responsibility is for Nigeria. They say you don't even have to leave your neighborhood for you to know, for you to hear somebody insult Nigeria. Do you understand?
You don't have to leave.
You don't
your
even have to
neighborhood.
leave. You don't even have to leave the space where you're in. Like, what do you think about Nigeria? Oh, it's a stupid country. Do you understand? Like, everybody would give you that. But we have to love our country because we don't have anywhere like this. All the people who are leading us today have had the benefit of ruling Nigeria at this time when it was good for them.
But they would also tell you that it was not so great for them, not good,
yes,
not good
but
enough for them.
there's a time when you go into service, they're giving you a car.
True.
Do you understand? You're going into service, they're giving you see all these estates in Abuja. When you're going to service, they're giving you a house. But now, are those things readily available for people anymore? So that's what we're saying. So all we're trying to say is that we need to love our country. We need to believe in the Nigerian state. Nigeria is a home of blessing in abundance. Do you understand? All we need to do is for us to put our hands together and build it. If you go to the UK and you decide to japa, you're going out as a second-hand citizen.
What does a second-hand citizen mean?
You're not from there. Like, you could imagine the type of stress.
A used-up citizen?
Not a used-up citizen, but a citizen that you don't belong. You don't identify as them. They don't know you as part of them. Do you understand? See Kemi Badenoch. She had to deny Nigeria in the totality of it just for her to get some sense of belonging there.
Do you think that is sad for Nigeria or is that sad for her?
No, that's sad for her. Because you can imagine rejecting somewhere where you've grown, where you're called. Her family is all Nigerian.
But
her
Nigerians did celebrate. Okay, I would like to finish that.
Yes.
Nigerians did celebrate, even at the national level.
So that's what I'm saying. Because we don't believe in the Nigerian state anymore.
So she denies Nigeria, but Nigeria celebrates her.
Some Nigerians celebrate. A lot of other Nigerians were in pain. Do you understand? You said you identify as a Yoruba person. What's a Yoruba person? It's a typical of a Nigerian. Do you understand? So we have to understand that this geographical zone called Nigeria is ours. It's for our benefit. What exists in the northwest is a benefit for the person in the south. And what is for the south is also good for somebody in the northeast. So we have to understand that anything that, okay, so for instance now, Nigeria is fighting a war in almost every zone of the country, putting so much burden on our armed forces. Now a lot of resources that are supposed to go into things like education, that's supposed to go into healthcare, is going into the security and it's killing us so badly. So we have to believe in our state and we have to all put our hands together and believe in the government.
Which then brings forward the question of every style of government that's come into play. And I would not go way back. I'll go way back 3 presidents, President Tinubu, President Buhari, and there was President Goodluck Jonathan as well, all coming on with their different style. And maybe that's to do with their region or not, I can't tell. But they all came with their own strong personality, all with the need of what can be done. And some almost excelled riding on the likes of social media. For example, if I would use new media as we connect with President Jonathan, who was heavily criticized. He had it from all angles, from everybody in that arena. President Buhari didn't pretty much care about social media because he saw the people that voted for him when he went through the streets of most of the northern states. He saw the people who were willing to vote for him, right? And now President Tinubu, of course, who did rise much of his effort on social media, I would believe so, and new media, people writing for him. In fact, he owns a media organization to put forward quite a number of his views and put forward the views of the government to a large extent. And I start to wonder about the future of the media, even the future of the new media as we have it. Where you think about who owns the mouth that plays the pipe, or I don't know, what should I be? Who wants the mouth that gets the communication out there? Do you think a polarized new media system where the government says, okay, you guys have done your side, you're on that side of Twitter, let us now create our own systems to counter you, or people in government or politicians start to create such a system? I don't know if you have politicians affiliated to your media organization who push narratives for you.
Yes, no, I think. Okay, so Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has so many media organizations.
Yes, I'm aware.
Different platforms, and one thing I always doff my hat for the president is a strong believer in Nigeria. Do you understand? One thing I have understood so far is that we're coming from a situation where we had a government that was not so much interested in the actions of the people. Do you understand? The president was not literally open to reacting to certain things. President Muhammadu Buhari was not open to, like, you say what you like. Do you understand? So now we have a president who communicates. Do you understand? Who every policies of him, his traveling is being said. His returning is being said.
But that was also similar to what Buhari experienced. In and out, there was, whether it was for medical or...
there are a few times when the president went Owor, when we didn't. Do you understand?
Yes.
I want to go into more details, but I think it's just important that we now have a leader who believes in Nigeria. Like from his statements, do you understand? Even though some have been misunderstood or some have put us in a little bit of more hardship, because anything that I believe in the saying of the wise words, anything that will come out well would have to go through a rusty. Like gold, before it comes out, it has to go through the rough patches of it.
And refined.
It has to go through the refinement. So I think one thing that we all need to understand is that we're coming from a situation where Nigerians have been identified as lazy. Can you remember?
Mm-hmm.
We had a leader who identified Nigerians as lazy. And we're at the point when the government is appointing young people into serious position. The EVC of Nasen is a young man. DG Smeden is a young man. The Lottery Trust Fund, a lot of agencies are headed by young people.
What's your definition of young people? Because I
Like
always lose it. Yeah?
Like under 50.
Under 50.
Do you understand? There was a time when
I thought the global standard was 35.
No,
Or that's been
but
revised.
on our Nigerian standard, let's just take it
okay.
there. We had a time when we had a minister of agri who said they were still selling rice for 30 naira.
Sadly, that's so.
Do you understand? Because of that is the time where he's coming from. That's the space at which he is in. So we need to understand this. We need to get and all we need to, what I'm calling for is that we need to try our hands, like in the generations where I'm coming from. Like I'm from the 20s, you know what I mean? Like we scaled Gen Z by chance. Do you understand? So like all our growing up, we have tried as much as best to criticize the government. Like we hate the government. We hate the NC. But okay, so let's give a government a chance. And now this is a period where a lot of my mates are also graduates of universities and they've started putting their hands in work. Do you understand? So I'm trying to say, let's have a renaissance where let's even say, okay, let's support the government for 1 year. Let's encourage them.
Do you think
let's even try to understand what the government is doing. Let's not look at the ends of it. Do you understand? Let's try all our best, because I think this critique I want us to constructively criticize the government, but I also want us to also look at the perspective of the government, because we have fought the government all our lives.